Kanye West thought this documentary would finally prove his genius, cement his place as a misunderstood visionary, and silence the critics once and for all. But instead of rewriting his legacy, it may have done the exact opposite. From screaming matches with Kris Jenner to raw confessions that left fans speechless, the footage has gone viral. And for the first time, the internet is actually sympathizing with Kim Kardashian. That in itself says a lot, because if there's one thing Kanye underestimated, it's how brutally honest the camera can be. What was supposed to show resilience and brilliance is instead exposing a man spiraling deeper into his own chaos. And the first cracks? They didn't start here. They started more than a decade ago, when one bold move changed everything. The film begins with a trip down memory lane, revisiting Kanye's career highs and the moment the cracks in his public image first began to show. The infamous 2009 MTV VMA incident with Taylor Swift is front and center, where he stormed the stage, grabbed the mic, and interrupted her acceptance speech. That outburst didn't just spark years of beef between Kanye and Taylor, it also marked the first sign that controversy was going to follow him everywhere. At the time, Kanye was set to go on a massive tour with Lady Gaga, something that could have reshaped both of their careers. But after the incident, the tour was canceled. Suddenly, he wasn't just the outspoken rapper with bold ideas. He was seen as unpredictable, volatile, and self-destructive. And while Kanye tried to spin the narrative as him being unfairly targeted, it was also the first time fans saw how quickly his career opportunities could collapse under the weight of his own decisions. But as the documentary shows, that was just the beginning. Because what looked like music industry drama would soon evolve into something far more personal and far more dangerous. Fast forward a few years, and Kanye begins opening up about his struggles with medication. He admits to Kim Kardashian that he had been off his meds for months, describing it as a calling from the universe. The documentary makes it clear that this wasn't just about creative freedom. This was about control. Kanye believed medication dulled his genius, and stepping away from it gave him clarity. But what he framed as clarity soon led to one of the darkest chapters of his career. In 2016, at the height of his St. Pablo tour, Kanye abruptly canceled the remaining shows. Days later, he was hospitalized for exhaustion and what many believe was a severe mental health crisis. Though the documentary never shows footage of the hospitalization itself, it becomes a recurring theme. Kanye brings it up repeatedly as a defining moment, a breaking point where he claims the media twisted his story and turned him into a target. This hospitalization didn't just damage his public image, it fractured his trust. He became increasingly suspicious of industry figures, increasingly distant from his family, and more convinced than ever that he was misunderstood. And while the hospitalization was painted as a medical emergency, in Kanye's narrative, it became the spark for years of paranoia and resentment. But paranoia was only the start. Because when Kanye turned that energy toward politics, the backlash grew even louder. The documentary dives into 2018, when Kanye shocked fans by stepping out in a red MAGA hat. For him, it wasn't about Trump. It was about resisting control. At least that's how he explained it. But for many fans and critics, the message was clear. Kanye had chosen a side, and it was one that alienated a massive part of his audience. Then came his infamous rant on Saturday Night Live. After performing, Kanye delivered a pro-Trump speech on stage, saying he was bullied backstage and told not to wear the hat. Cameras captured him calling out SNL itself, claiming the cast was complicit in silencing him. The fallout was immediate. Cast member Michael Che later confronted him about one particular line: Kanye's comment about black subject matter needing to be discussed by black comedians. Cho thought the jab was aimed at him, and the two clashed off camera in a tense argument. Kanye insisted it wasn't personal, but the damage was done. Even Che, who once considered himself a fan, admitted he felt blindsided and humiliated. Kanye doubled down, saying his real issue wasn't with Che, but with SNL as a whole. Still, the moment was chaotic, raw, and unfiltered. Another sign that Kanye wasn't just challenging norms, he was burning bridges in real time. But if politics pushed him into paranoia, family pushed him into full-blown confrontation. The most gut-wrenching part of the documentary comes when Kris Jenner breaks down in tears, pleading with Kanye to take his medication. Her voice cracks as she tells him she just wants him to be okay, to be present, to be stable. But Kanye doesn't see it that way. Instead, he accuses the Kardashians of contributing to his mental health struggles. He insists that the family has never owned up to how much they've impacted him, and in one chilling moment, he tells Kris he would rather be dead than medicated. Kris pushes back, telling him that what strangers online think shouldn't matter. What matters is the people close to him, the family that loves him. But Kanye doesn't see love. He sees control. And the more they beg him to listen, the more he resists. The film also shows a trip to Uganda, where Kim Kardashian, visibly emotional, tries to reason with him. Surrounded by Kanye's close friends, she pleads with him to accept boundaries, to realize that being told no isn't a personal attack. She reminds him that she's told no every day, yet she doesn't lash out in anger. But Kanye can't accept that. For him, no is rejection, and rejection is betrayal. It's one of the most telling moments in the documentary. Kim, calm and collected, is trying to hold her family together while Kanye spirals. And yet, even as she fights to reach him, it's clear he's slipping further away. But then something unexpected happens. Kanye seems to pull back, to recalibrate. And for a brief moment, it looks like he's finally found peace. After the chaos of politics and public meltdowns, Kanye enters what many saw as a rebirth. He renews his vows with Kim. He launches his Sunday service, presenting himself as a man reborn through faith. The footage of this era feels calmer, more controlled, like Kanye is finally grounding himself in spirituality. At the same time, he sets his sights on Wyoming. The wide open spaces become his canvas for a new world. Sustainable Yeezy projects, experimental architecture, and big dreams of building communities take over his focus. To fans, it looks like Kanye is finally channeling his energy into something positive. For once, there's hope that he's found stability. But, as the documentary shows, it was only temporary. Because by 2020, Kanye wasn't just experimenting with faith and architecture, he was back in politics, and this time the implosion would be even bigger. In 2020, Kanye launched his run for president. What could have been dismissed as a publicity stunt quickly turned into a series of public outbursts that shocked even his loyal supporters. At one rally, he admitted that he and Kim once considered not having their daughter North. The statement was raw, personal, and devastating for both his family and his public image. Shortly after, Kim filed for divorce. It wasn't just about politics anymore. The man she had stood by through years of chaos had crossed a line that could never be undone. The documentary paints Kanye as almost delusional during this time, convinced of his own untouchable power. He believed Adidas could never drop him, that he was too valuable to lose. After all, hadn't he made them billions? That arrogance became his shield, allowing him to say whatever he wanted, convinced the world would never dare cut ties. But the shield was weaker than he thought. Because when Adidas finally walked away, the dominoes started to fall fast. When Adidas cut ties with Kanye, the consequences were immediate and brutal. Live Nation, AEG, and even the Sphere in Las Vegas refused to book him. His White Lives Matter shirts cemented his fall from grace, and suddenly, no one wanted to be associated with him. Yet, instead of slowing down, Kanye doubled down. In the documentary, he frames everything as intentional. He rejects the idea that his behavior is linked to mental illness, insisting instead that he's a visionary, a prophet, a misunderstood genius, anything but a man in crisis. But as the footage shows, the more he tried to control his narrative, the more it slipped away. Fans who once defended him, who once said he was just misunderstood, now admitted they couldn't stand by him. Even Michael Che, who once idolized Kanye, admitted that the downfall was too hard to ignore. And perhaps the most painful irony is that the documentary Kanye thought would showcase his brilliance may have done the opposite. It may have shown the world, once and for all, that his downfall wasn't just tragic. It was inevitable. In the end, the documentary leaves one haunting image: Kanye West, a man once celebrated as a genius, sitting in the ruins of his own choices. The internet, surprisingly, has rallied around Kim Kardashian, with many saying she endured more than anyone should. For once, the narrative isn't about her controversies, it's about her strength in the face of chaos. And that shift says everything. Because while Kanye insists he's more himself off medication, while he insists he's misunderstood, the reality is hard to deny. His genius brought him to the top, but his refusal to listen, his obsession with control, and his chaotic outburst brought him crashing down. So the question is, was Kanye always destined to unravel, or did fame, power, and obsession finally consume him? Either way, one thing is clear. This documentary may not have rewritten his story the way he hoped, but it has forced the world to face a painful truth. Sometimes brilliance and destruction are two sides of the same coin. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. It really helps the channel grow and makes sure you never miss the next upload.